Okay, so before we start learning how to make games in Unity, let's go over the interface so that we know how to navigate the program and do simple tasks. So as you can see, the interface of Unity is split into sort of four major sections in the default view. These are the things you'll probably be using the most. There are other windows that exist, but they're more specialized. So let's look first at the area at the top left. This is the hierarchy. This is where you'll see all the objects that exist in your game. So to start off, you're going to need to make sure that you uncollapse your scene. Scenes are essentially how Unity games are kind of organized. You can consider scenes as sort of different parts of a game, such as different levels or different screens, such as menus. So each scene will have its own kind of unique hierarchy, and they kind of act as files. So you save them and switch between them, kind of like files. So a scene at its default state has a camera and a directional light already put into it, but these two things are not very visible. So let's add a new object into our screen. If you go up to Game Object and 3D Object, you can add a basic shape into your scene. So I'm going to add a cube. Cool. So now we have a cube put into our hierarchy, and now you can see it here in the scene view. This area of the screen has two major tabs. The scene view here is kind of like the developer's view of the game. And then here is the game view, which is controlled by the cameras that you have active and shows you what the game actually looks like while it's being played. So sometimes you'll be switching between these two modes, these two tabs. It's important when working with a new 3D environment to learn how to navigate that 3D environment so that you can access all the objects. The first thing you want to know is simply that it's easy to click inside, click and drag to select multiple things or select one thing at a time within your scene view. Another thing that's important to know is how to kind of move your view of the scene around. So you can hold down the Alt key and click and drag to rotate. That's really important to get different angles and different views. You can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out, like so. You can also click down the mouse wheel and kind of pan around. So being able to both pan, zoom, and rotate should give you really good control over kind of what part of your scene that you're looking at. Another thing that's important to know about your game in terms of the scene and the hierarchy is nesting. So if I add a new object into my screen, or into my scene rather, as you can see, the new sphere appears next to the cube. Now, these two things can move independently of each other. If you want to parent two things together, then you can simply kind of drag one into the other. Now you see that the cube contains the sphere. That means that if I move the cube, the sphere moves with it. I can still move the sphere independently of the cube because it is inside of it. So a lot of your game objects in the future may contain these sorts of hierarchies, allowing cool interactions and cool kind of groupings of different elements. The third major area of our screen is over here, the inspector. The inspector is where you get to see all the different properties and components of any game object you have on the screen. So as you can see, the sphere has a name, a few other things going on up here, a transform that controls its position in space, and a few other things that control its rendering and its collisions. The cube has some similar things. All the information and things here in the inspector give you access to parts of your game objects and allow you to control them without using code in a lot of cases, or a combination of editing things in the inspector and with code is the way that a lot of tasks are done in Unity. The last section of the interface is down here. This is the project area, and this is sort of where you can access all the different files that you have in your game. So all those things will be contained in the assets folder, and you kind of have the freedom to organize this area as you wish. If you right click in here, you can create new objects and create new folders, and it kind of treated like just sort of like your operating system with some other extra things, allowing you to do specific Unity-based file creation. So it's pretty important to keep this area nice and organized. Another cool thing about the interface is that it's customizable. You can kind of rearrange it however you wish. You can make different things bigger or smaller. You can take different tabs and nest them with each other, or even put them beside each other. If you find yourself in a situation where your interface has gotten kind of crazy, you don't really know how to return it back to how it was, you can always go to Window Layouts, and they have a few different preset layouts. So I'm going to click back on default, and it'll return my layout back to where it was at the beginning of the video.